Yes, people, good morning. What's going on? Welcome back to United View. Welcome back to another transfer view, man. There's loads of stuff going on. I would say the transfers are transferring. The stories are, and the goings-ons are happening. But the actual actions, what we're all waiting for, the here we goes, the deal's done, the signed this, that's not happening yet. But there's loads of stuff. There's loads of moving parts. I see a lot of people getting frustrated online. I see a lot of people moaning, a lot of people upset, a lot of people concerned. Some people really calm. Some people saying let Ineos work. I'm not going to say it started again because I'm not trying to do that division thing, but like you can just see how it affects different fans and how different fans are feeling through the lack of movement or the movement that is happening and the decisions that are being made to walk away from this player, try and get that player. This team's not coming in for this player anymore. We can't offload. There is so much going on. Scott McTominay, deal off. Are Fulham expected to come in with another deal, another price, another offer? Apparently, no. But we're going to talk about that because I think a lot of people's thing now, yes, we know that we need to get players in, but a lot of people, rightly so, have been talking about outgoings. And Yusuf Fofana as well, Monaco's Fofana. We have to have a look at what's going on there. Is there going to be a deal there? Obviously, Hijack, his preferred destination, obviously out there in Italy to Milan. So we're going to talk about that. De Ligt and Mazwari. I mean, that's it looked like the two easiest deals to sort of they're just right there. They're just ready to be done. Mazwari definitely. De Ligt proving a little bit more difficult. We're going to talk about that. And the Denzel Dumfries swap deal as well, because like Owen said yesterday, loads of contrasting reports on that one. You've got Ornstein on one side saying it's the West Ham vibe, it's this, it's that. Sorry, he's saying it Inter Milan vibe, etc., etc. And then you've got Florian Plettenberg on the other side with a few others sort of claiming that no, you know, this thing is the West Ham vibes, and as soon as that happens, then Mazwari comes in. There's just so much going on. So smash a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you lot are new. The new season is nearly here. I mean, yeah, I know it's Fulham the next Friday, but when it's a charity shield at Wembley on the weekend, and I know it is an extra pre-season, but
curtain raiser
at Wembley, yes, curtain raiser. Our season starts on Saturday. You know, if we lose, then we can say it starts on Friday, but our season starts on Saturday.
Yeah, indeed. But like you mentioned, Flex, there's a lot going on at the moment. We've already got our first super chat in, actually, from Tabrez. It was early before we even started, saying, got my ticks for next Friday. See you then, Flex and Josh. Indeed, Fleck and Josh will be there. Usual spots. Old Trafford. I must say, I am a bit nervous for next Friday. Not necessarily because I don't think United will win. It's just, that is such a horrible slot. Being on that Friday slot, the first Premier League game. It was the Arsenal slot for a reason, because they used to go, let's put them there and hope that they lose. And Manchester United are in that territory at the moment, aren't they? So bit nervous for that one. But as you mentioned, Flex, and as we've spoken about so often, outgoings is the key to incomings in this transfer window at the moment. And it looks like, as maybe one expected, because of previous work, aka sins of the past, it's been a bit difficult to move some of these players on. Familiar story, I know. Beginning with Scott McTominay. So Dama Chef reported yesterday, as it stands, Fulham are not expected to return with an improved offer for Manchester United's Scott McTominay. 2 bids have been rejected, the latest worth £20 million. There's still a gap in valuation. And because of that, Fulham are now focusing on other targets, including Andre from Brazil. They've had a long-standing interest in him. Of course, we were interested, apparently, in him too. The valuation that United reportedly were looking for was, I think Ornstein had said Man United would be willing to do business at £25 million for like a £30 million package. So there is still a bit of a gap in valuation here. Interesting that Fulham not expected to put a new bid in, because it had been reported previously that they were expected to come back in for another bid. So we'll wait and see how that one plays out. But McTominay is not the only player we're struggling to move on at the moment. One is Casemiro too. James Ducker saying that Manchester United were hoping to sell Casemiro this summer, but there are still no takers. Why? Because he's the highest paid player at the club. And as we said previously, if you don't have a Saudi club coming in to pick his wages up, nobody in their right mind is going to do that deal that we did just a couple of years ago. Similar story with Victor Lindelof as well. James Ducker also saying there's been some tentative interest from Italy and Turkey in Manchester United centre-back Victor Lindelof, but his wages are an obstacle for the suitors. So,
and that's Lindelof's wages.
And that's Lindelof's wages. And he's not even like a high-wage player. But in comparison, we said it quite a lot, don't we? We kind of we don't realize just the sheer difference between the finances in the Premier League versus the finances in Italy, in Turkey, in France, or whatever. Like, it's
Portugal.
totally different. Like, they look at a player that's on, like, let's say we look at a player that's on 60K a week and we go,
Nothing.
Nothing. But in Italy or France or Turkey, they're like, that's one of our highest paid players. You kidding me? So it's a similar story, isn't it? And you mentioned the frustration there or concerns. Where do you not place the blame, but do you sympathize with Ineos? Are you frustrated with them? Because the different points of view that I've seen is, this is Ineos. They're no different from the past. They can't sell players. This is on them. They should have known this, blah, blah, blah. And then the other point is, well, they're doing the best that they can, but a lot of these decisions they're having to deal with the ramifications of are decisions that they didn't do, deals they didn't set up, deals they didn't sign off on, like a Casemiro. So they're trying their best, but they're always going to struggle here. And this is going to be one of those situations where it's like, this is the pain of 2 to 3 years of getting a lot of these deals, just almost waiting for them to expire because there's nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah, we want it all. We want it all as fans. We want us to start selling well and make good money for players. So like when Arsenal are trying to get rid of what's his name? Smith Rowe, he's gone for like 30 million, 27 plus, whatever. So you go, well, hang on a minute. If he's going for that, Scott McTominay, I know the age thing, but he's scored goals in the Premier League. He's got hundreds of appearances for Man United and played in the Champions League, he's played in cup finals. He's been around the block. If he's 27 million and he's hardly done anything for the last couple of seasons, he's been injured, Smith Rowe, Scott McTominay must at least be 30, 35, 40 in this climate. So we want us to sell our players at a good rate. We're fed up of not selling well. But at the same time, like you said, Owen, you just listed valid reasons why nobody's going to come in for Victor Lindelof. Why Fulham probably won't go much higher than that for Scott McTominay. Why definitely no one ain't coming in for Casemiro. So we're scratching our heads thinking, why is no one buying these players for more? But at the same time, we're pissed off that we've got these players on massive wages on big contracts. We can't have it all. Like, I do agree that Ineos, there will be a point where they're going to have to cut the losses. There's going to have to be a point where like the maximum we can get is still lower than what we should be getting right now. And then we're just going to have to scrap that and then move on with the next batch of players. So when we get our next batch in and start building, when it's time for a shelf life of the new crop after 2 or 3 years, that player would have been managed correctly with his contract, with his wages, with his renewals. So when player X in 3 years, who's been bought in this regime, needs to move on, it will be economically viable rather than now. Like you said, these players weren't signed by Ineos. These are the same players that we've had for ages, that we've been complaining about. How are we going to shift them? This is the problem. Like we always say here, sins of the past. But I do think there has to be a cut-off point for Ineos. Right now, they're entitled to try. They're entitled to say, no, 2 bids, we think you can do better than that. No, 1 bid, we think you could do better than that. They're entitled to do that at the beginning, to try. That's their job. But as the time keeps ticking and it's slowing up other deals and it's this, that, and the other, they're going to have to call it in. But by calling it in, which I also understand, which we have to understand as fans, by calling it in early and saying, all right, 20 plus 5 for Scott, it isn't really what we wanted. But that is going to affect our budget. So we can't then say, right, we have to cut ties with these players. Just take the loss. Because that's what some people said. Just take the loss, man. They're shit. Like, what can you do? Right, that's cool. But understand that when we do that, this next set of budget that we want to go and get Ugarte or to go and get the ligt or Mazwari or whoever it is, that's going to affect us. So then we might not be able to bring in as many as we thought we could. So it's about us, innit? Just being patient, which is hard. It's really, really, really hard because we want shit now, but we have to be patient.
Yeah, it's patience and realism, isn't it, as well? I saw quite some good arguments yesterday about this whole Sander Berg thing. And you park the player to kind of one side. I saw some discussion of, we say that we want players not necessarily from big clubs, from smaller clubs that we can develop. And we do that. We say, oh, we're going in for this player from Burnley or whatever. And we go, no, we don't like that. They should be coming from a big club, like someone like an international player like PSG. And it goes back to, once again, what do we necessarily really want? What do we necessarily really expect? And the things that we do expect, do we actually mean what we say? Because when the reality hits, it turns out we kind of want something a little bit different. And I've seen, discussions of, just screw it, just, rip up Casemiro's contract. But from an FFP and PSR point of view, that's sort of the worst option of anyone. We have to pay the player off anyway, the money that they're owed, and we don't have a player for it. We can't do anything.
It's
with
the
that.
last.
Yeah, exactly.
Resort,
well, it's not. I don't think it even really is a resort.
Arsenal did it with Pepe. In the end, they did it
in a worse position, doesn't it? Because again, from an FFP point of view or PSR point of view, we've paid the money off. We've got nothing for it, and we don't have a player as well. How is that going to help us? With the McTominay one, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because you have to weigh up that thing of, okay, we know we want to sell him and we know we want to move him on to bring in another midfielder. But like you said, if we accept a lower fee, then that changes the player that we're going for, because we might not have the money in the budget then to get that player. Like in our mind, we're like, well, to get player X, we're going to have to sell McTominay for this amount. This is the money that we're going for. And if we don't get that in, then it's like, well, then what are we going to do in that regard? So I do, like I said, for the other ones, like the Casemiro one, there was some stuff yesterday, wasn't there, about Anthony possibly going to Saudi, and they were like, that's not really true. I do sympathise with them for that point of view, because I think even the best transfer gurus would look at that and be like, what are we going to do? And we spoke about that previously with Casemiro so many times, didn't we, saying that if Saudi's not an option, which doesn't look like it is, we are stuck with him. And that's not to say terrible, never won any Champions Leagues or didn't have a great career. It's just saying that Manchester United, they don't have a lot of options there, do they? Even I saw something about wan-bissaka. I mean, the whole stuff, we're going to talk about this a bit later on, but whether personal terms have or haven't been agreed, there's also rumblings about, once again, Manchester United might have to pay off a part of his contract to facilitate that West Ham deal to go through, because whilst West Ham might be wanting to make him one of their highest paid players, it's still not maybe the salary that he's got at United. And that's the case for a lot of Man United players. It's the same reason that Harry Maguire's still here. Last 100%. Season, it was, how are we going to bridge that gap? Because these players look at the contracts they're on and they go, well, to be honest, I'm happy to go, but I also realize that I'm owed X amount of money. And the buying club goes, we can't give you that. And then they go to Man United, go, how desperately do you want them to move on? Can you help us with that lump sum? And then it becomes way more complicated too. So
and the player power is still there from that perspective. And it's not just only these rotten players player power at Man United. This is like, a lot of players have this power, but the difference is the type of contract that you have and what money you're on. A lot of other clubs don't have this problem because they haven't over-invested in the wrong areas into the wrong players and put them on contracts that are too difficult to shift. Look at what Manchester City just done with Julian Alvarez. Look at that. What they buy him for? 15 million 2 years ago?
Yeah, 15 million.
Yeah. From was it River Plate?
Well.
Yeah, I remember that. It was River Plate, innit? And you went, that's the sort of thing we need. The young, unknown, 15 million. And now he's won everything of the modern game, hasn't he? He's one of the most decorated players in the recent game. Like, it's crazy. He hasn't been like
level.
Yeah, like I'm not saying he started every single game in the World Cup. He pretty much did, but okay, at City he doesn't start every week. But you look at his CV, and Man City can go, this player, mate, can deal with any kind of pressure you want, mate. He scored goals that helped win Premier Leagues. He scored goals that helped win Champions League. Played in the FA Cup, Champions League final. Whatever you want, he's done it. Yeah, Copa America, done it, mate. Yeah, only thing he ain't got is Olympics, right?
Although Atletico, they've really not learned their lesson, have they?
Where
have they? Felix.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a them problem. But from the Man City perspective, like, geez, talk about flipping a player. They went and got Manuel Akanji from Dortmund for like 17 million. We're going, hang on a minute, wait a minute, what's going on here? And now, look, if he used to sell a Kanji now, what would he be worth? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's funny as well, because say we had bought Alvarez, and he was playing at Manchester United, we wouldn't even be in the thought process of selling him, would we? We wouldn't even consider it. We'd be like, no, can't sell him. Can't sell him. It'd be indispensable. But also, guess what? Guess what we would have bought him for as well from River Plate as well, and guess what wages he would have been on at Man United. But my point is that we have to understand that this bit is going to be really difficult, and there's going to be some shit losses. There's going to be a balance of like, oh mate, McTominay only went for bloody 18 million plus 5, Jesus, but
That's what we have to do in the end. But I do still stick by, what is it? August the 7th. We've got to the 30th, right? I still think we are getting dangerously close soon. I get it, because the season's going to start next week. But we do have to try. We can't just accept the first bid every time. And, for the Lindelof and Casemiro one, it's just not even any takers, mate. That ain't rejecting bids. That's just no one even coming in.
And I think, in fairness, with those two, if a legitimate bid came in, I think United would accept anything. I don't think they particularly care, that much. Like with Casemiro,
no.
If someone said it's a free transfer, but we'll pick up his wages, Man United would be like, fine, no problem. Yeah. We're not expecting. And bear in mind, we paid 70 million for him like 2 years ago.
Mental, man.
With Lindelof, it wasn't going to be a high transfer fee. Just a little bit, just coming in the last couple of minutes from Fabrizio Romano on someone that could be used to raise quite a bit of funds, Jaden Sancho. He has said Manchester United have still not received any bid from PSG for Jaden Sancho, despite interest. He understands Sancho's future remains open. He could still leave United in the final weeks in case of an important proposal. The decision will be up to the club and the manager, Erik ten Hag. So that's
what we know.
That one might be one. We're talking about how Casemiro is not going to go anywhere. Lindelof, I still think something could happen there, but I think it'll be late. I think a lot of things are going to be late in this window. Yeah. I still think the wan-bissaka one will happen. Where he goes is probably a little bit more up for debate, but it could be Jaden Sancho is the make weight to get a de Ligt in and a low-cost midfielder on loan or something like that. He might be suddenly, because I think the intention has been, like, Man United clearly earmarked a specific list of players that they wanted to get rid of this window.
Yeah, they're open to a lot.
And I think Casemiro was on there. I think Lindelof was on there. And obviously Greenwood was on there. You had Donny on there. I think Sancho probably was originally on there.
Sancho definitely on there. Maguire on there, if it happens.
Maguire on. There were lots of players on there. Eriksen. And then as time's gone on, again, because of sins of the past, they've gone, nope. Got to take those people off. And now they're probably looking at Sancho going, okay, 40 million. Can we get it a little bit higher? Because we actually want to spread that around a little bit too. So maybe Sancho is going to be the one. Maybe Sancho is going to be that fundraising player.
Yeah, I mean, especially the two that we earmarked at the beginning of the season as the two most sellable. It was Sancho and Greenwood, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And we said in those two is the best part of not 100, let's say 80.
Well, McTominay was on that list as well, in terms of pure profit from an FFP point.
Yeah, and McTominay as well. Yeah. So, but like the two of McTominay, you're saying, I'll tell you what, could you push for a 40 million? I'll tell you what. Do you know what I mean? But like the main two of like the really attractive assets was Mason Greenwood and Sancho. And the Sancho one, he sort of come back into training and people took that as, oh my God, we're not going to sell him. Never the case. It just, if Sancho wouldn't have come back, right, we wouldn't have been in any sort of position to be trying to ask for money for him, and now he's come back, had a decent preseason, shown that he's fit. Not saying he was the best player on tour, but we've put him on the social media videos and the in-house club media. Everything's fine. He's smiling. We've seen him a couple of times. He's saying hello. He's signing shirts. He looks like he's part of the squad, ready to roll. But really, that's just maintaining some sort of value because you've got a functioning player there who's played the back end of last season, got to a Champions League final, played all right, done all of preseason, looked sharp, played all the games. So if you buy him, you've got Jaden Sancho, mate, he's ready to go. There's your player. As opposed to, he came back from Dortmund. He hasn't been on tour. They've done a Trevor Chalobah to him. Do you know what I mean? Or Conor Gallagher, ain't played. He's been outcast. He's been training with the kids. You're gonna have to get him up to speed. And that we definitely have to sell him. Man United aren't painting that picture. So that they're banking on that as well. And that would be the best part of 80 million. Plus you add in, like you say, a Scott McTominay, you're looking at like 120 million in sales. So that would have been, like you said, Owen, like really substantial in terms of going, right, extra 100. Imagine we could say we had it, we've already got 40 through the door. But let's say we could get another
80,
70. Another 70, 80 now. That there is your de Ligt, that is your Ugarte or the right back or whoever it is. That is it right there. Because we're seeing what the prices. We're seeing what the prices have been quoted for some of these signings. Mazwari. Is that, how do you say? Is it Mazwari or Mazuri or Mazwari?
I think it's Mazraoui.
Mazwari. The Mazraoui situation. is like what 27-ish. You know,
Well, even that, some of the prices that they're allegedly quoting for him is a bit ridiculous. You know what I mean? And bear in mind, these are players that they've told
they don't want
a surplus requirements.
Yeah.
You know?
And the funny thing is seeing Plettenberg say, was it him who said? I'm sure it was. I saw it, unless I'm just jet lagged and it was someone else. I'm sure I saw him say, well, the Jonathan Tah, they're saying, yeah. So as soon as he leaves,
Yeah.
then
And
now
it's not even that high a price as well. It's like 25 million euros. It's like,
so they need it as well. So obviously as well, we do have to play that game. Like this is part of changing our how we're viewed in the market and having tactically aware people. Hang on a minute. PSG, you've just sound Jao Neves, mate.
You're saying,
no, wait a minute, wait
a minute. You've just signed Jao Neves, mate, yeah? And you want Jaden Sancho, but you're doing this for Ugarte. No. You're not even talking to Jaden Sancho, or we're not even putting in that bid for Ugarte. We're leaving. Because, no. Then you look at Bayern. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
You're saying you don't want Ligt anymore and he's surplus. And you're saying you want Jonathan Tah. And you're saying Mazraoui is like, you don't need him. But you're also waiting for us to buy Ligt so that you can go and get Tah. But you're saying you just do a bit better on that, did it? Why? So you can have change left over after getting Tah and go and get someone else and we can fund your next cut. No. We're not doing that.
Absolutely disgraceful.
Absolutely disgraceful. So Ineos are again within reason, because there is a cutoff point because our season's going to start soon. It's who blinks first, isn't it? It's the bluff thing, isn't it? Like, all right, well, I bet you won't go and get Jonathan Tah if we don't up our bid until we pay the money. So we'll wait, because there's going to be a point where you need that money to go and get him. So you're going to come down by 5-8 million, something like that. But then they might not, and then we go, shit, here's that 60. So, do you know what I mean? We have to wait and see. And see.
Game of poker. We've got a lot of super chats, Fleck.
Yes, let's go. I don't like changing tabs on this machine, but I will right now. I just don't want to do any Flecknology. Tabrez, you already read that one. Raul says, Flex, why is it that channels like the United Stand are looked down upon with the likes of Rio and Mainstream? Raul, I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't say that anyone's more looked down upon than anyone else. There could be people who look down on United View. There's people who look down on fan channels in general, to be fair. Yeah. And in terms of Rio, because I personally know him, I don't know of any, unless I've not seen something this morning where he's just gone on Twitter and said, I look down on United Stand. I don't believe that to be true. I don't know.
I don't. Mainstream, certainly. He doesn't look down on new media. He's got his own channel.
No, he's got his own channel. Yeah. But mainstream is, in general, mainstream. We've always fought that fight, haven't we? You've seen it here on United View. You've seen it when I've been at United Stand, groundbreaking stuff, breaking down barriers, bridging that gap between the mainstream and fan content. That's what I'm about. That's what my mission statement's been. And we've done a good job of that here at United View, and United Stand do their thing of bridging that gap. So mainstream, I think there's always going to be a little bit of something you don't know, you're a bit afraid of. But that gap's changing, as you lot have seen by loads of crossovers. Yeah. That's not, I'm not going to say it's not a thing anymore, because it still is a bit, but it's a lot more open than it was 7 years ago when I first started, or going on 8, sound old now. Being in a press conference or trying to, do interviews with the press, or someone like me being on mainstream TV or radio, could never happen. So, I don't know. I'm not sure. Lil Yo-Yo says, Fleck, can you say Mazraoui again? Well, I just did, mate.
There you go.
Well, Lil Yo-Yo, what do you want me to say? Mazraoui? What do you want me to say? Do you want me to say Mazraoui, or what do you want? Tell me
well, either way, I mean, your Flex is on Sky this week, tomorrow and Friday. If you did say it wrong, he'd be corrected quickly.
100%.
quickly on that one. So he'll learn very quickly. By the end of the week, he'll know all the players.
I'm like a Paul Merson. The lad there at Bayern, Mazraoui. Mazraoui, honestly, they get him in. It's different, Jeff. They get Mazraoui in. I'm not.
My favourite one, Paul Merson, we used to call Will-I-Am.
Yeah. Oh, Paul Merson, man. He is funny. He honestly. No, man, they don't even try. They just take one look at God. Will-I-Am, mate. Will-I-Am. Honestly. I think Agbon Lahore does one. He calls in Ketia Nketia or something like that. I remember going, Gabsy, what are you doing? Anyway, Dan Watson, I ain't going to get that name wrong. Big up, Dan. He says, setting up structure of best in class isn't difficult. The real work should have started with sales. Be big boys and don't play a player you want out. So what do you mean? Don't outcast them until they get sold? You're saying just say right. You're not playing. You're going to train with the kids. Like you're not playing because
But
you're
when
going
we
to go.
do that, we get criticised for being inhumane and not treating players properly. You know what I mean? This is, and I think Eric's shown this the last few seasons, isn't he? When the window shuts, if he's got a play, he's like, well, I'm going to use them because I'm going to need players at this point. Like, put it this way, last season, if he exiled, let's say, Scott McTominay or whatever, been quite a few goals missing. Or if he exiles certain players, there came a match day when we like really need that player. Why? Because we've got no one else because they're injured. Like once the window shuts, it's like, right, make use of what you've got. That's not really reflective of whether I want them to stay or not. But if they're here kind of thing, isn't it? And that's the problem. I mean, that whole resetting that culture of being able to sell these players, having favorable deals that deals United can manipulate and maneuver quite easily, that is just going to take time. That is going to take multiple windows. That is going to have to wait for contracts to run down. And then the players that you do bring them, you don't put them on silly deals. Like that is one where it's just going to take time. And we're in a game where it's patience certainly is not a virtue. You know, it's tough and frustrating.
It is going to take time to do. It is. Flip says, "Good morning, UV. Good morning to you, bro." He says,
$50.
Oh, $50.
$50.
Big up. Didn't even see that there. Big up, Flip, man. Yeah, didn't even see the 50 smackaroonies you just laid down there. Thank you for the support, bro. He said, was in the chat saying that players like Scott and Aaron Wan-bissaka have 50% fee clauses in their contracts if they are sold. So the fees have to be right, or we can buy no players in addition. So it's good fee or nothing. Again, talking about whether you accept too small of a deal, does it just ruin us where, again, we can't get to bring in players that we want? Or how does it affect us where Scott McTominay goes out the door, but you actually can't afford a decent enough replacement? Then you're like, well, may as well keep Scott another year. Do you know what I mean? So that's basically what Flip's alluding to.
He's also, I think, alluding to, there was some rumours, I don't know how true it is, I'm not sure how true it is, but there were some rumours suggesting that when Manchester United triggered the optional year, it could potentially affect how much money they actually receive in terms of the transfer fee, and in terms of some of it could go to the player. Again, don't know how true that is. Yeah, don't know how true that is. But the point being is that could be, if it was true, don't know if it is, but that could be another example of a deal that any of us might look at and go, we would never do that. We would never. Why would you do that sort of thing? So that another one is sins of the past as well, which could be also why they're trying to charge higher, because they're like, well, we're not going to get all of that fee. Therefore, we've got to charge, hopefully try and get a little bit more so we can get as much as we possibly can from it, which makes the deal even more complicated.
Yeah. Rashid says, been a member for 4 months as well, by the way. Big up to you, Rashid. He says, Fleck, can you get a finance guy in to explain what will be the ramifications, what the ramifications will be if we start to sell players at a lower fee for PSR in a future window? Noted, actually. We always like to try and do different things here. That's a good idea, actually. I will scour the list of network and connections. We'll see if I could do that. I'll try, definitely, if I can, because actually we do that, don't we? Especially here when there's something we literally don't know about, we always try to go and find out from that world. We did it really well with the Bloomberg stuff with Qatar. We've done it on different deals or different journalists. We've done it on players for sure when we go to source. So yeah, good idea, Rashid. Good idea. I'll try and do that, bro. I'll try and do that. And Show says, what's the benefit in keeping Scott McTominay an extra year? We will get more than 20 million next summer. No, accept the loss and move on. It is what it is. What about some people? Someone said to me the other day, ex-pro, and they were saying, I'm telling you now, I would keep Scott McTominay because you just say, you're a John O'Shea, this is your role. You need people in the squad who other people can learn off as a pro, because you can't learn off Sancho, you can't learn off Rashford. There's a lot of players that have bad attitudes, and it's not the worst to have someone in there who just understands their role. And actually Eric Ten Hag, I'm not saying I agree with this, Eric Ten Hag has found a role for him, which is come off the bench, get in the box and help us score a goal.
But it's a bit like the wan-bissaka thing, isn't it? It's not totally the same, but he's got a year left on his contract. I think we do have the option for an extra year, so potentially 2 years left on his contract. But you're at that stage with him where it's like, right, are you going to be here long term, or we're going to have to get rid of you now? We've got to make a decision. Do we believe in you enough to give you a new deal? Probably not. Probably not. We know, like you said, we know what your role is going to be, what your level is going to be. If we're going to aspire to be higher, then maybe that would be a player in your position. And I think maybe the point the show's making is that, well, okay, let's say we don't sell him in this transfer window. We'll be the same situation this time next year with legitimately a year left on his contract, not the potential for an extra year. So there is this kind of like incentive of kind of might have to be this summer, you know, or if it's next summer, it's going to be probably even less than maybe it had been previously. But, you know, I would put it this way. Would Fulham be willing to offer 20 million this time next year? And would we accept it? And if we would accept it this time next year, why not just accept it now if we're not going to get any higher?
Yeah. Such says 1.1k watching at the time. Let's get the likes up, people. Now we've got basically 1,600 people watching with 404 likes. So we can keep pushing, keep sharing the video. We can get to 1,800 people, 2k. Why not? And, you know, 750 likes. Why not? Why not? Let's set the bar high. Glenn C says 2 players Ralph told us to sign. What, Mazraoui and ligt? Is that who you mean? I don't know. And Tabrez says Flex sounds like Hodgson when he says Mazraoui. Wow, I could pronounce the R's. I'm not doing a Jonathan Ross. I ain't doing that. And so Ryan says Ollie got second and third with a supposed worse squad. Why the panic? This desperation surprises me. I think we've got to be, you know, a little bit careful with saying, well, he got second with, and he had, you know, Pereira and, you know, at the time on Matter and Dan James, like that's so we could do it again. You know, one of those was bloody when there wasn't even any fans there. Like we have to be careful. We have to be careful because that means we're saying, well, we can get second then, we can do it again. Don't have to invest that much. Like we have to be careful. We can clearly see how far behind we are from what the benchmark is now. You know, we were able to compete in certain games quite a lot of the time in Ollie's sort of first couple of seasons. You know, playing counter attack and stuff with Lingard, Pereira, Dan James, Martial, Rashford, and a bit of Greenwood. I get that, but things have moved on, man. Things have moved on, and you know, like I said, one of those seasons that we had the best away record. What was it, like 17? Without
when there was no fans there.
No fans, mate. As soon as the fans came back, mate, we didn't have it anymore.
Yeah, but I think
shut the bed.
Part of the problem also is we just don't really know like what the level is, because last season, not that it was an outlier because it was a really poor season, but the season before that we finished third and we're like, actually this team, maybe if you add a little bit more to it, they might be a bit closer to compete, not maybe winning the league or anything like that, but actually they're not too bad. And then last season's like 8th. It's terrible. And you go, wow, if everyone's fit, is it like a top 4 team anyway, sort of thing? You know what I mean? I think that's also
in general. Yeah,
that's also when it gets into the sort of territory of, I don't know if it's time to panic, but I think there is natural concerns. You know what I mean? Natural concerns of maybe falling behind. But at the same time, when you do look around at the rivals, it's quiet for that. It's quiet for everyone. Like it is a quiet window at the moment.
Yeah, it's not all going off.
No, it's not like, you know, it's like everyone's signing so many players and we're not signing anyone. That's not necessarily the case. I think it's just a concern of, well, last season we finished at where we finished, and realistically, we've only just kind of replaced some outgoings. And actually, one of the outgoings we did replace, but he's injured for 3 months. So we're from looking at it, we might be net in a worse position right now in terms of people that are available.
Just because 2 key players have got injured. Yeah.
Exactly. But players are also going to be back that were injured for the majority of last season, which hopefully would help us out a little bit. So it's kind of like you don't really know what's on the horizon.
We will be, again, I don't care about flex judge or whatever. I don't care. Like, we will be better with Luke Shaw and Martinez back side by side in our team.
As long as
instantly,
as long as Man United, even if Man United cut the injuries in half, which look, who knows what's possible.
Still,
if they cut the injuries in half, they would
still be better.
They would
100%.
It's just the doubt of coming out of preseason, like you said, when 2 key players are injured. You go, exactly. I don't know if that's going to happen.
But 2 key players are back in. Like we saw just from the cup final, I know Shaw didn't play. Just from having Varane and Leach back in there, that essentially, I'll go as far as to say that won us the cup. Like just by having those two back. Yes, Eric Ten Hag going to a 4-4-2 with the false nines and bringing in Amrabat and being a bit. The tactics obviously is massive part of it, but let's not kid ourselves. Like we did all last season, guys, and I know people say Eric Ten Hag's improviser, standards on the floor, mate. Finish 8th. Mine has got no excuse. But the one excuse you can put forward legitimately and say, that would have had a mundane effect. That would have had a serious effect on what you're trying to do. No back four, boys. Like no fullbacks, pretty much. No centre backs, the ones that you actually want to play. Like, come on.
But
so
you
just
need that depth, don't you? Because
of course,
inevitably, we're sure he will get injured. Leach can't play every game. He can't.
And
so
we know what's going to happen. We know what's around. It's already happened in pre-season.
Exactly.
But I know Josh was actually not up to speed yet because he couldn't go on tour. But it's exactly why we needed another striker.
Yeah.
Like, say this was the normal season when they're all fit. Now you've got injured. Now we'll go, right, so Xerxes going to play, now. He's his time or whatever. If we would have had Ligt by now or vice versa, Lenny Yoro would have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the planning is right.
Or you got Mazraoui. Okay, cool. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The planning of what we're trying to do, get Ugarte in. Okay, now
it's not here.
Might have had to. He's not here. So the planning of what we're trying to do is correct, but the execution at this moment has not been. Right, let's start picking up the pace a little bit. Aminor says, why are we not going for Mark Gahey? I don't know. They obviously see, Braithwaite and De Ligt as the fit that they want because the money that they're trying to. I mean, the money that it was for Braithwaite, 70 odd millions, a little bit more than what I think Palace want, about 60 odd, don't they? For Mark Gahey, that'd be a good move for him. I like Gahey, done well. I'd have him. I don't know. There's still a little bit of the ball playing side. I'm not. There's a little bit there, but he is good. He is good. But clearly, I think the easy answer to that, Aminor, is that our hierarchy have earmarked as the skill set of De Ligt and Braithwaite is the type they prefer better because that's the two they've gone after. So there you go. And obviously 60 million up front. We're not doing that for De Ligt. We definitely didn't do it for Braithwaite. So obviously price wise as well, we obviously can't afford that. Larry, I don't know what
currency
what currency that is. It's 20,000 of whatever it is. Let me know in the chat. What currency that is, but thank you. It's red, so that means it's significant, does it not? Or does it not really?
Sometimes it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, you've made a contribution to the channel, so we appreciate it. Larry says we have to be able to accept the loss on some of these players so we can build properly. Flex. Arsenal even paid some people up so they can facilitate their rebuild. We talk about open heart surgery. How do you raise the levels if you don't sell to replace? And I agree. Look, I do agree.
But it wouldn't necessarily change anything from a PSR point of view. I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that you can, like, put it this way, like with the wan-bissaka deal. If they're like, well, it's going to take a couple million extra payment, then you would go, right, pay it up, take the hit in that regard. But in terms of like just ripping up the contracts, that would literally do us no favors from a PSR point of view. We wouldn't have the money to buy the player.
Says Ralph wanted Alvarez and Akanji, but was told no. Oh, is that the two players you were talking about? Right, okay, I'm with you. And Flip says, Larry, even if we pay players' contracts up, that still counts against PSR. We wouldn't be able to spend after, which is what Owen is basically just alluding to, because it said you've had an outlay for that player, and then you're now getting nothing back in return. So you can't. That's down as a loss on your books. Right, let's keep it moving. We've got nearly 1,700 people watching. You lot are listening. You're sharing the video. You're letting people know that you're watching, which is good. Let's keep rising. We've got 485 likes now, pretty much 500. Let's keep going. Let's get to that 650. Let's push on. Yusuf Fofana.
Yes, so this is mainly actually just about who could potentially be this sort of midfielder that Manchester United are looking for. Dharmesh Chef, once again from Sky Sports, saying Manchester United have held initial talks with Monaco over midfielder Yusuf Fofana. United are looking at several options, including Richard Rios, Sander Berg, Martin Zubamendi, and Sofian Amrabat. Interest is retained in PSG's Manuel Ugarte, but not at the prices being quoted. Florian Plettenberg also revealing this, saying Manchester United have made contact with the agents of Yusuf Fofana to explore a potential deal this summer. It was actually 2 to 3 weeks ago when United presented their projects and plans. At this stage, they have not made a concrete offer to Monaco for the midfielder. He actually has a verbal agreement with AC Milan about a contract until 2028, but as of yet, no agreement between the two clubs. A bit similar to what there was with Joshua Zirkzee, of course, prior to us signing him. James Ducker kind of saying the same thing about these midfield targets, saying Manchester United have switched their focus to a number of different midfield targets, including Sander Berg, Richard Rios, and Martin Zubimendi, or could even bring back Sofian Amrabat after bulking at PSG's asking price for Manuel Ugarte.
Sorry, just quickly, I just had the thing there. Imagine this whole midfield search, and like we just couldn't do anything. So like, I tell you what. We'll take Amrabat back on loan again. Like imagine that was the solution. After
it could happen, or like a low cost permanent deal. You know, we mentioned
like 15 million just came in.
If you know Sancho does get sold, like I said, the bulk of that money might go to lit, and they go, we've got a little bit left over. Amrabat, wanna?
It'd just be so
come back.
Honestly,
typical Man United. I don't know how much stock I put in this Fofana stuff. I mean, the deals that Man United have done this summer, they've hijacked both of them, really. You know, Milan had done quite a lot of groundwork for the Xerxes deal, kind of were stepping off when it came to the agent fees, whatever. United came in and said, yeah, we'll do that. And figured out a fee with Bologna. Obviously, we know the Leniore situation with Real Madrid, managed to convince him. So I suppose you can't rule out the possibility of us going in for a player when another club thought they'd done the deal. I don't know. I just, again, with the news of the McTominay stuff, I just now wonder about just where is that money going to come from? You know what I mean? Where is that? Who is going to be that fundraising player? Like with Mazraoui, you go, right, wan-bissaka's going to go. Makes sense. He's going to be the replacement. With the Ligt one, someone's going to have to be sold. But even that's kind of slowed, like you said. So you just wonder where's the money going to come from.
Well, sometimes things can change because of players. Maybe. They might go like Lindelof might go. I actually ain't going to play. I don't know. I've had enough. I'm just gonna move. But you're hoping on sort of goodwill of the player. The Casemiro one's never going to happen because he's never going to go. I'm on 350. Let me just. I've been on the bench for the first 3 games. I'll take half this. Well, not even half. Even that's too much. I'll take a third or something. I don't know. But you're right. You're struggling to sort of calculate how you're going to generate this. And then, like we said, this is the frustration. And I get it from fans. If we go into next season with the midfield as it is, I don't know, man. There's a lot of improvement that can happen just by having players back and maybe Ten Hag being a bit tactically less stubborn. Like we can improve just off that, but there's still only a ceiling we can get when our midfield's trash. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, man. Like I just we've got young players up front still. Xerxes first season, can't expect everything. Garnacho 3rd season, so okay, cool. Ahmad, one in the big season from him. Rashford expecting big things. So listen, there's still, I'm not giving excuses. There's still players there when everyone's fit, but we still got, big holes in the team that that need filling. Can see what's going to happen.
I tell you what does make a lot more sense at the moment is there was a report, when was it, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, that was basically Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said to Eric Ten Hag, we ain't expecting you to win the league this season. We're not even necessarily totally expecting top 4 or whatever. We just want you to play better football or whatever. And given some of the struggles in the transfer market, you can maybe see a little bit why they kind of pulled down those expectations a little bit by going, it'll be difficult. We just, which again,
ain't a bad thing.
We look at the seasons prior and just go, we believe if the players that you got stay fit more often, we think we'll do better than last season, but we don't think you're going to win the league or anything like that. I still say that, again, if you can cut the injuries down, United are going to be pushing for top 4. Because even last season, it was only really, again, sort of February, March, it really started to fall away. Because as shit as we were still post-Christmas, like, I tell you what, we're still in the shout for top 4. This is madness. Because all these other teams started to drop away as well, didn't they? And then it just completely went to shit. With games when we were losing at home, to like the Fulhams or whatever, or dropping points against, what was it, Burnley? That's when it really started. The wheels really started to fall off then, didn't they? But those reports suggesting that Sir Jim maybe played down expectations suddenly do make a bit more sense.
Yeah, and getting off to a bad start, we know, like you just said, that it intensifies the pressure. If you win the first couple and get away with it, the feeling is like, well, there's tougher tests to come. We've got 6 points in the bag, but, we need to really get some players in. But if you lose them first 2 games or draw one, lose one, or draw both or something, it gets, we're not, it starts to really, really ramp up, which that's when the Dan Ashworth thing comes into it. Like I said, when I saw an interview of him talking about, not panicking in the short to mid-term and focusing on the long term. But there still has to be some give on that. There still has to be some give. Yeah, the final one, watch this space. But again, it's just the outgoings and who we're going to get. If we're not going to get Ugarte, this Sanderberg situation, because you are looking at lower cost options. Clearly, if we don't want to spend the 60 million, 70 million that's been reported for Manuel Ugarte, it's lower cost options, and usually lower cost options, not all the time, usually results in lower quality. But that isn't always the case. If you get creative and that's what I'm saying, use your network and use your skills in the window, which is what these guys have been brought in to do. Go and find better value for money for players. Other teams do it all the time. Then these players become 100 million players within one season. That's the sort of shit we need to be doing. Loads of other players do it. Liverpool do it. City do it. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal, not the Declan Rice thing, but they get players for decent money and turn them into something. So yes, that's what we need to do. Where are we at? Nearly 1,800. Love that. 538 likes. Love that. Joe Fleming says, if we don't get fourth, it will be an abject failure. Yeah, because from the fans' perspective, we're like, listen, nah, mate, fourth is what we need. Andy H, big up to you. Been a member for 25 months, by the way. Big up to you. Says, just wanted to say thank you to the UV team for creating something special. Getting to see your point of view of what it feels like to be on tour is so unique. Love that, Andy. That's what we do, man. That is what we do. So appreciate the love. Thank you for watching. And again, I said it yesterday, my first show back. Big up to everyone who had positive things to say about the tour. It was it's always, every tour is fun. Was that our third tour on UV?
Yes.
Second?
Third, yeah. Second of America, third overall, yeah.
There you go. So, yeah, big up to you guys. PS said KG has not given us scouting reports. Different man, don't know who you're talking about. Since the end of 22-23 season. Time to get the jacket out and the hat. I want tier 9 content. And, happy Thursday. Well, they are different people, but the scout's been sort of on holidays, been doing different things.
Yeah. And it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Happy Thursday. Didn't even remember that. Yeah, even done me with that. Yeah, conversations will be had. The lit and Mazraoui.
Yes, good pronunciation there, Flex. I like that a lot.
Mate.
Getting better. So Florian Plettenberg with a bit of an update on this one. It's no real new news, I suppose. Saying from FC Bayern's perspective, the offer from Manchester United for Matthijs de Ligt is still not sufficient to proceed with the deal. The two clubs remain apart on the transfer fee. Bayern still demand 50 million euros plus bonuses, also known as add-ons. Negotiations for Nusay Mazraoui are more concrete at this stage, with the transfer fee expected of at least 25 million euros all in. Still waiting for Aaron Wan-Bissaka and West Ham, which actually, to be fair, we can probably do this Wan-Bissaka thing all in one because it kind of encapsulates all of this here. So this was a story coming from David Ornstein from The Athletic last night, which again, this is really interesting because it's kind of different. So what's being said here by David Ornstein? He said, Denzel Dumfries does not intend to engage in negotiations with Inter Milan over a new contract until the transfer window has closed. The Dutch right wing-back has entered the final 12 months of his deal at the San Siro, and Inter want to secure him to fresh terms. But as things stand, Dumfries, 28, remains focused on a move elsewhere, with the possibility of joining Manchester United carrying particular appeal. That would only be a potential option if Aaron Wan-Bissaka definitively rejects a switch to West Ham United. At present, they have an agreement in principle with Manchester United. However, personal terms are not yet in place, which is really curious because that's kind of the opposite of what's been said previously, that Wan-Bissaka had agreed personal terms with West Ham, but Man United and West Ham hadn't, actually agreed on a fee. But Ornstein's kind of saying it's actually kind of the other way around. He also said Wan-Bissaka favours the prospect of heading to Inter, and that would open the chance of a Dumfries swap, which has so far been raised by intermediaries rather than between clubs. Manchester United would still prefer to sell Wan-Bissaka to West Ham and sign Mazraoui of Bayern Munich, with talks ongoing. So you've got kind of like two big journalists kind of fighting two different corners here. You've got Ornstein, he said this for the last few weeks, going, nope, Wan-Bissaka prefers a move to Inter Milan. I think he even went as far a few weeks ago to say that he rejected West Ham and said he wants to go to Inter. A swap deal has been raised. That's what, Wan-Bissaka wants, an intermediaries kind of one. Then you've got, the Florian Plettenbergs and Fabrizio Romano's going, nope, it's talks between wan-bissaka and West Ham. Of course, West Ham's move for Mazraoui fell through because Mazraoui wants to go to Manchester United. So they've gone to wan-bissaka. Personal terms aren't thought to be too much of a problem. It's just a gap in valuation. 10 million, 18 million. That's basically what Manchester United are looking for. They're looking for 18. And it's just a bit, it's curious because you can't really doubt the credibility of all of the journalists involved. Is this kind of, do you think, a last-ditch attempt by Inter to get things going? Or maybe by wan-bissaka's camp to get that Inter movement necessarily that he actually wants? What do you make of all that?
Very interesting. If I was just quickly, if you were to say pick one, who do you think's more correct? Just because it's wan-bissaka and like West Ham and like it's not because it's not Bayern, I would lean more towards Ornstein on this one. That's just my feeling because I just think that
Florian Plettenberg's close to Bayern, isn't he? So he would know
exactly. So he'll know that like no, they're trying to get. I don't know. Something's just going Ornstein, but this is what makes it exciting. I mean, obviously we just want deals to happen, so we don't want to be drawn out in this. It's too long, but yeah, I'd probably go more towards Ornstein. But they're two viable. They're two really viable things. I mean, and we just don't know. None of us know what Aaron Wan-Bissaka's thinking. We're not close to the deal. These are two people who are claiming that they are, and two very credible journalists. So one of them's wrong. One of them's wrong. Or to be fair, the information you say wrong. The information that they're being given from both camps. I mean, things get said all the time. Sometimes a camp can tell one camp one thing and another camp the other because they're trying to keep everyone on their toes and not show their hand. Plettenberg's people obviously at Bayern, the latest that they've heard from Manchester United or whoever intermediaries and agents is that, listen, Man United do want Mazraoui. They're trying to get it. Yeah. They've told us that they had a deal with
Which
West
is what
Ham.
Ornstein's basically saying, though. He said United still would prefer to sign Mazraoui.
So he's not wrong, but maybe the bit that they're not aware of, which Ornstein, again, might have better links with Aaron's actual agent, and he might be saying, listen, there's something.
This is what I think.
You can't do that.
I think that comes more from the Ornstein stuff. I think comes more from wan-bissaka's point of view, because the whole center of that is wan-bissaka would prefer a move to Inter Milan, and frankly, why wouldn't he? If you're looking at it from a purely sort of sporting point of view, Inter Milan, what did they win? Serie A last season by like 1,000,000 miles. So, and they won the Champions League final 2 years ago. Like, they're a very good side. So wan-bissaka could look at it going, I'd go to Inter Milan. Like,
Champions League.
Playing Champions League, competing for league titles. Or I could go to West Ham where... Exactly. I could go to West Ham. I could maybe get a half-decent payday, but,
stay in London, or go back to London.
Exactly. But... from a sporting point of view, the sporting project would be greater to go to Inter Milan, which is maybe why he's trying to force that one.
But it is exciting times at West Ham, though, as well. Like, they're getting
but not as exciting as winning nowhere near as Serie A or when they got the Champions League final.
But here's the thing, Owen. You're right, but also, I'm just thinking of Aaron as I know him. Just calm, just chewing gum, headphones on. Normally, you would be like, I can't see him speaking much Italian and, doing that. But then also, I see him as like, okay, mate, I'll just work it out. I've got my headphones on. I mean, just play my game, mate. I could see him easily going there.
With how Inter play, so they play, I think they play a back three. Yeah. Could wan-bissaka be a wing back? Do you think?
Whams, mate. Whams special, yeah. Whams. Yeah.
Well, no, there's a lot of focus on going forward, progressing.
Yeah, he can do it, man. Wamby, yes.
Because that's part of the criticism for people saying about Dumfries, why they wouldn't want him to come to United, because we don't play with wing backs. You're putting a wing back at full back and going, I don't know about that. Yeah. I would prefer the Mazraoui deal. I know obviously the injury record and what have you, but I do like, because for me, one of my biggest things is Man United need a left back, and it looks like we're not going to get one, but Mazraoui can play left back. So I'm looking at that going, well, Dumfries ain't going to play left back, is he? So we really need it, which is why I think that United will look at it and be like, we prefer Mazraoui.
And it's weird because I was looking at Mazraoui's thing, and this thing that he plays left back as well. He's done it a bit, but when you look at his appearances of where he's played most,
not a lot.
Left backs that is centre mids and defensive mid, just like higher than
multifunctional, mate. Multifunctional.
John O'Shea, mate. John O'Shea, mate.
Yeah,
John O'Shea,
Moroccan John O'Shea. Basically,
100%. Everyone needs a John O'Shea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I ain't trying to see Dumfries. I mean, and we're saying all this. I mean, look, this is pressure's on Dalot. Dalot's our number one right back. I think he will continue to be. I saw
unless Dalot ends up, if it's Dumfries comes in, Dallow's going straight left back, then, isn't he?
Yeah,
in that, you know what I mean?
Well, when Luke Shaw gets injured,
exactly.
Yeah. I did something that KG would normally do the other day. Someone shared a comp of Dalot. I just got sucked in, man. Like it had like a Gary Neville voiceover at the beginning, like saying like, yeah, he's powerful. He's something there with Dalot quite early on, and then it just went to just comps of like last season and just in general, mainly last season. And like there was like loads of passages of play, like things he was just doing good. Now, obviously, because we're crap or we're not great, a lot of stuff doesn't come to much because like the move breaks down with someone else, or we're not good. But him individually, some of the things he was doing, I was looking at it going, he's good, man. Like Dalot's good.
You feel for him. Good. You feel for him in the sense that whoever has played at right back over the last 12 months has really had no idea who's going to be in front of them, because they're like, wow, start off with Anthony, then it was like, wow, Garnacho, is it going to be Sancho? Now it's like, is it going to be Ahmad? Like we always talk about how, wow, Rashford plays better when Luke Shaw there because they've played with each other so often for so many years. It's difficult to build up that relationship, isn't it, with the player in front of you when you have no idea who it's going to be. I'm a Dalot fan. I think not only
he's good, man.
He's good on the ball. He's half decent going forward, good defensively, and he does have this level of tenacity that I like. You know what I mean? He does nip together the back four quite nicely. You could see him as he gets older. I don't know if he's super captain like material, but you could see him being like a vice captain or something.
Yeah, like and absolutely. And I've always known he's good. It's just that, sometimes comps. I'm not really into comps, but like this comp particularly, I was just like, he's good. Like we need to remember that he's one of the like top fullbacks in the league. Like he doesn't get credit for that. And I know like last season, I'd say was probably his best. But like he possesses all the attributes, like you're saying there, Owen. If the team starts functioning, we get the results that we deserve. Well, we deserve to finish where we finished last year, but you get what I mean. If we improve with players like him, with how he plays, his attitude, his power, his speed, his touch, his technical ability, he's got better at defending. I remember the big thing was like, but you need wan-bissaka for them 1v1 duels because Dalot could get run up. No, he's physical. He built up that sort of that solidity of like in 1v1 duels. He's at it now, defending that back post. He's got better at as well. Like he has got better and he is good. We have to have him. Not forget that.
You talk about how like, I think most top 6 teams would have him. Maybe not necessarily in their starting 11, depending on who they've got.
Yeah, because now they're a lot settled in the top 6. But you're right.
But in their squad, they could have. You could see him playing. You could see him.
Dalot's one of few players that can leave Man United and actually go up.
Yeah, he could. He
could play for Barcelona.
Yeah, you could see him. Yeah, or Madrid. You could see that. You could absolutely see that. Because the right back's not like a massively flashy position. You don't need to.
No, they still play Danny Carvajal, mate.
Exactly. Exactly. You could play that.
What a bastard. I mean, he's got those tendencies of like how to be a bastard and stuff like that. But he's still got some limitations. But yeah, exactly. You see Mendy and stuff like that. Players like that. Like if Dalot can play at PSG. Dalot, he can play. He can play. But there you have it, guys. Big up for watching. Joe Fleming, last one, says Dumfries far better, 28 years old. A concern though, far better than wan-bissaka. You must be saying, I believe, not Dalot. Let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Big show. There was loads to talk about as per usual. Where we're at Wednesday, the lead up to Friday, because that's going to be press conference and all attention towards the Community Shield on Saturday. So yeah. Big up to everyone. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Subscribe to the Fleck as well. First video coming very, very soon. I will be doing behind the scenes at Sky Sports. Yes. That's going to be, I've decided.
Edited by yourself?
Edited by moi. The thumbnail has not been created yet. It's going to be very basic. It's I don't have the proper vlog camera. I don't have the Canva. I don't have the proper vlog camera with the mic and stuff. This is my everything, So, who am I? I don't even know who I'm on with yesterday, but usually bump into Darmesh. Tomorrow, usually bump into, I'm hearing noises of a Fleck vlog. So, we'll see. It's about next couple of days. I'm going to do it over 2 days. So I'm in on Thursday and Friday, and then I'll sum it up maybe on Saturday. Yeah, there you go, on Saturday. So leave it with me. Might take me a while to do the what you call it and put it together on the thingy. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. But the link is in the description below. So make sure you subscribe to the Flex and make sure you subscribe to Owen Wrestle 365555.
Yeah, I hit a milestone.
It's back and it's all going off. Whoa, what milestone? Where are we at?
18,000 subscribers. Road to 20k. Only 2k away from 20k. Imagine that's my goal for the end of the year, which I think is attainable. So.
Easy. Is there what big events are coming up next?
You got two pay-per-views in August. You know, you still got big shows coming up, but you know, never know with the rest of the things. A bit slow, can move at a slow pace. So that's the end of the end of the year.
Good. KG's channel's in the link as well. So everyone's there. Get onto it, guys. Take care. If there's any breaking news, of course, we will bring it to you throughout the day. Take care. Peace.